Hello! In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a typical crochet granny square. I'm using a 9mm hook and Line Brand's Thick and Quick Woolies yarn. Or is it Woolies and Thick and Quick? Whatever the heck it's called. We'll start by making a magic loop. With the tail of your yarn to your left, you'll have your working yarn to your right. And what you're going to do is grab the right hand side and fold it over so it's staying on top of your tail. And then you'll take the tail end and go from front to back through the hole. And now you're going to grab your crochet hook and insert that from front to back, and you're going to yarn over. And if you find it easier, you can also hold your magic loop like I'm doing here, and you'll pull this through. And I don't actually consider this the chain one. Yarn over, pull through again for chain 2. I am not going to count the chain 2 as the first stitch, but you can if you choose. Because of my magic loop method, I'm going to actually pull the tail out now. I find that sometimes too many loops causes issues later on. Now if you find your magic loops a little big, you can pull on the tail end and you should see it shrink. If it gets too small, you can always pull this and it will loosen it. So you're going to be working inside of this loop. So you'll be working what's called in the round, and we're going to work a double crochet stitch. So you'll yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over one more time and pull through the last 2 loops. You've now completed your first double crochet. Now you can continue by repeating this 2 more times. So you'll yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook. So you'll yarn over again, pull through only 2, yarn over again, and pull through the last 2. And since I'm not counting my chain 2 in the beginning as my first stitch, I'm going to repeat this process one more time. If you do count your chain 2 or chain 3, then skip this third double crochet. Now we're going to create the corner by chaining 2. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So now we're going to repeat this process. You're going to create 3 double crochets with a chain 2. So you're going to yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to go a bit faster here as I repeat this. As you're working this, you might find that your ring is getting slightly bigger. That is completely normal. It's just because you're pulling on the strands as you're working in it, and it just kind of extends. You'll be able to pull this closed after you complete your first round. Now that I've completed the 3 double crochets with a chain 2, I'm going to repeat this process 2 more times. So that means you'll have 12 double crochets and 8 chain 2s. Essentially, you're making 4 corners. So what you might not notice is I'm about to make a mistake. I'm about to accidentally work right over my tail and catch it. So I've shrunk it down as an example. However, I then proceed to work directly on top of that tail, and when I accidentally work into this space, it extends, and then I try and grab this tail to shrink it in, and of course it doesn't work and I have to undo this last bit. So a tip for you would be not to do what I just did. When you reach the end, rather than doing a chain 2, I find doing a chain 1 works just as good. And now you're going to find the top of your first double crochet, or if you counted your chain 2/chain 3, you'll insert into the top of that, going through both the loops, and then you'll yarn over, pull through, and then continue pulling through the second loop on your hook. This is called a slip stitch. The reason we did a chain 1 instead of a chain 2 is strictly because the gap created from a chain 2 with the slip stitch join ends up becoming quite large, as in the next round you'll be working directly into this chain space. But you can absolutely chain 2. It's, dealer's choice in the end. To start round 2, you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to be working directly into that chain 1 space to the right of your work. So you'll work your double crochet. In this case it'll be 3, but if you're counting your chain 2 or chain 3 as your starting stitch, only do 2 double crochets. And now you're going to chain 1 after this, and that creates the next space for round 3. And now you're going to create your corner by working 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 double crochets in this chain 2 space. We have our 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then our corner space. So you should see something like this. We're going to repeat this process all the way around. So in these next 2 chain 2 spaces, you'll work the 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all the way until you're back at that beginning. So you should have something that looks like this. To finish this off, we're going to work our 3 double crochets into the last chain 2 space. In this case, it's technically a chain 1 space. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to find the first double crochet of the round, insert into the top, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through, and continue to pull through to slip stitch join. And there you have it, you completed round 2. Round 3 is going to be incredibly similar, but it's going to be worked in these chain 1 spaces on top of these chain 2 spaces. And this is how your granny square grows, by working into these chain 1 spaces. You'll see what I mean when we complete the next round. Just like round 2, you're going to chain 2 and then work your 3 double crochets in that chain space, and then chain 1. From here, you're going to work into that chain 1 space by placing 3 double crochets and then chaining 1 to end. So you should see something similar to this. And now we're going to work the corner. You're going to be repeating this process. Every time you hit the corner, you'll do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And every time you're working in a chain 1 space, in between each corner, you'll work your 3 double crochets and chain 1. And now you're going to work your chain 1 and then your slip stitch join into that first stitch. And then this completes round 3. Now, to continue growing your granny square, you're just going to repeat this process. Chain 2 in the beginning, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in each chain 1 space, and then repeat the corners. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the corner. And you just keep going until you get the size desired. I know I mentioned you can do chain 2 or chain 3 in the start of each round, but I didn't really give context to why you can do this. The idea is when you're doing a chain, you're matching your stitch's height, but as I've gone on my crochet journey, I just preferred to completely omit this process. But as a beginner or anyone just learning, it's very normal to do the chain 2, chain 3 method. The disadvantage to the method that I'm doing is that typically you'll have what looks like 4 stitches wide of a cluster of stitches. Whereas if you did the chain 2 or the chain 3 method, you'll have the same width of stitches, but sometimes the join can get a little spacious, and that's kind of why I omitted it.